Okay, what I'd like to do is go over week 5 classwork. So after reading your comments from Malin and some of the questions that you had, I rewatched the last part that after we stopped. And actually, I gave you a link here to where to pick this up where you'll need to continue. It's basically an hour and 30 minutes total. Sorry, it's an hour and 30 minutes total, and I have taken your hour and 40 minutes, so I actually have taken you to here to this 1 hour point. So it's, less than an hour you need to watch to the end. So watch all of this. And what's kind of interesting here is he answers many of the questions that I saw you had, which is part of why I decided to go ahead and finish Malin's lecture. And I just think he does an awesome job. Okay, so that's the first thing is first take notes like you've done before, right? You start around the 1 hour mark, you go to the end. And also in your notes, please tell me if he answered your question from last week. And if he didn't, repost it if you'd like me to answer it because there were some really great questions and these are good discussion points, okay? So in your notes, part 1, right? So you'll have week 5, right? However you want to label it. And again, I've told you I want titles, right? So using the title format for each different week, and then you'll have notes. Okay, so that's part 1. So part 2 is let's take some of the information that Professor Malin gives you about, how to find how much space on a hard drive a directory is taking, and then how much RAM is left after your computer boots. So I'm going to show you this both in the Windows environment and on the Mac environment because I think it's good. Some students are on one or the other, and so it's just good to know how to find this. I have provided 2 other resources here if you want to know more about Task Manager for the PC and Activity Manager for the Mac. But let's go over this. So to find a directory where you store most of your data and right click to determine how much hard drive space. Okay, so for the Mac, there's this wonderful thing called Finder. Okay, and on the Finder, if I go right click and I go properties, it'll tell me in this case how much space my documents take, which in this case is almost 15 gig. That's huge, right? So you have to think about if it's taking that much space, what am I doing to back it up? A lot of other things that we'll continue to talk about, but that's good to know. So find if you're on the Mac, and I'll again show you on the PC in a second, right? So the other thing I want you to know is how much space, right? So that's take a print screen of that and place it into the document, right? I do want to show you, and this can work for both Mac or PC, and it's kind of fun, is that you can, and let's see if I can get to it here, you can just drag, I'm going to do this, so I can actually drag things into the document and it will just copy them, right? So that's an example of that. Okay, so you can just take the print screen, have it somewhere, and drag it into your document that you'll be submitting to me. Okay, so now the other thing is, let's figure out how to do, in this case on the Mac side, right, is the Activity Manager. On the PC side, it's called Task Manager. So what I'm going to do, and you can't see it, but I'm going to do Spotlight, and I'm going to do Activity Monitor. And Activity Monitor is awesome because what it tells you it gives you several tabs. One of them tells you how much you have available, right? So physical memory, you have this computer has 16 gigs of space, of RAM, sorry. How much have we used, right? How much is cached? How much is swapped to use, right? So in a sense, what we can say here, right, is we only have 6 gig left. Memory use, 10, available 16. So this computer, right, take a print screen of that and, answer the questions in the write-up too, right? How much, after everything's loaded that you're normally using, how much RAM does your system have available? Okay, so again, a print screen. All right, so let me show you and switch, interestingly enough, to the Windows side from my Mac, and I'm using something called Remote Desktop, which is really awesome. So if you want to know more, maybe we'll talk about Remote Desktop later. So let's do the same thing on Windows, right? So I'm going to go into my Windows Explorer. I'm going to right click, find my documents, and right click. I'm going to do Properties. And in here, it's going to calculate. So you would take a print screen of this, and mine's going to take a few moments here to calculate, and I should have done this before I started. But and I know on my desk, oh, here we go. So it's 27 gigs, right? And this is good too, because Malin talks about these different measurements that you need to know, gigabytes, Megabytes not so much anymore, but still around, terabytes, petabytes, right? And what all these things mean related to the binary system. Okay, so that's the first one where you tell me how much your documents take, right? Take a print screen, put it in the Google Doc. So let's find the other one, right? So for Windows, if you right click, and I think this is true for most Windows, into the desktop, or you can just, I think Control Alt Delete also gives you this. You can go do Task Manager. So under Task Manager, most of you will only come in here for the purposes of stopping something, but performance is really great. And what this shows me is this computer, right, has physical RAM memory, 3 gigs. 3 gigs, not a lot of actually for this, and this would actually be something, and he talks about this, the best upgrade to do is RAM upgrades. So I have available 1.3. Okay, so again, take a print screen, put it in there, and in your writing, tell me, after everything's loaded on my computer, in my example, of my 3 gigs available, right, total, I have 1.3 available. So that's why you want to know that. Let's just say is because the less available here, the slower your system can be, the more things you can't do concurrently. If you want to start something, you have to end something because it slows down the system. Okay, so let me just move this out of the way. All right, so we're back here. Okay, so I think this will hopefully help you through. I'll provide the video here so that it can talk about that. Do remember that when you're sharing your documents, you put the most current stuff on the top. Right? All you have to do here is copy and paste this in the Blackboard. Oh, and do let me show you this because I've noticed this happens a couple of times and I want to show students to make sure you're doing this. So when you're writing your submission, you say my notes, right? And again, I kind of like things bigger sometimes because they're just easier to hit, right? So there we go. And I could make it like a 5. Now I'm not going to take off points for not doing it, but this I will take off. Once you do the link, okay, and you paste it, make sure you do that. Make sure you target open in a new blank window and hit insert. Now, since we're learning HTML, I want to show you what that actually looks like in HTML. Aref, which you should now have some awareness of, and here's the link to the Google Doc, and this target equal underscore blank is what opens that in a new tab. Now, why do I like that? Because when I'm grading, if you don't do that, it just makes it less productive for me because I have to it closes Blackboard and it just creates kind of a mess. Not a mess, but it's just more time consuming. So you're making my life easier in understanding how I want the work done. All right, hope this answers it. Again, please do tell me questions because I want to capture these and figure out the most common questions that you have. Again, I think many of them will be answered by his second lecture. And then I think we'll see you back next week in the classroom. Okay, have a great one.